Hi, my name is Frankie. Thank you for listening to my mom. I never listen.
Welcome to the podcast, Colleen Mullen, the head coach at the University of Albany. We're so glad that you could be with us. How's your day going so far?
It's great. Thanks so much, Debbie, for having me. I'm really excited. This is going to be great.
Okay, so let's break down a little history. So you and I have met before. We've had a chance to exchange basketball conversation when you were at Army. You spent 7 years with Dave McGarity, a friend of mine who did a marvelous job at Army before he retired. What did you learn from your experience at Army that you've been able to carry forward as a head coach at Albany?
Yeah, I mean, Debbie, I think so much. And I feel like the experience at Army was really just a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to be surrounded around greatness every day. Some of the most influential leaders in our country and in our world would frequently be at West Point, and then just to be surrounded around young women that strive to be part of something bigger than themselves was really special. And at West Point, as an assistant coach and as an associate head coach for Dave, we had a lot of success on the basketball court, but really, I think it was the leadership development piece that was instilled in us as coaches for the players' experiences, because the main mission of West Point is to build leaders of character to go on to be leaders in the U.S. Army. And to lead troops and to, really utilize their leadership built through number one sport. That's why every cadet at West Point plays a sport, maybe not Division I, but every cadet plays a sport because they believe that, leadership is built number one from sport. So there was a lot of investment in us as coaches to increase our awareness of how leadership impacts young people, helping us become leader developers. Many speakers came in to speak with us. John Gordon was there once a week, and you kind of take it for granted that you have these speakers once a month coming in to talk to you as coaches to really be able to help mentor the cadet athletes. Really, the leadership at West Point believed that the coaches had more of an influence, more of a leadership influence than maybe some of their, direct reports, whether it be their officer representatives or, their chain of command. So they really wanted us to be prepared and ready to help them build, of course, their future, leaders. So when I got the job at UAlbany, I really focused on, number one, the reason why I coach is to build women, is to mentor and lead young people, because they're going to go on and lead a life of that's probably outside of basketball. So my goal is to build them as professional leaders so that they can be leaders in their profession, not just, doctors, but chief of surgery, CEOs. I want to build, managers. And so I think that experience of coming from West Point and that experience of leadership, we really tried to focus on building a culture. And coming to UAlbany, this program had 6 championships in a row. Coach Abrahamson, who's at Georgia now, built this program to a powerhouse, beating Florida on the national stage. Joanne McNamee took over the position when she went to UCF and followed suit. And when I kind of took over, I was the 3rd head coach that some of these players had in 3 years. So we really focused on building leaders and building that culture that I brought so much of that experience from West Point, and remembering the bigger piece and the bigger mission of me is to really allow basketball and a sport to be a classroom for life.
We're talking to Colleen Mullen, the head coach at the University of Albany. One of the things that you and I shared before we started taping was you come to college for 4 years at West Point, but then those players or cadets see 40 years after what their life could be. In a kind of a bullet point sort of form, how do you use that tool at Albany to do all the things you just said you were trying to teach from a leadership standpoint, to have young women see what their future could be 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road?
Yeah, I think about everything is just a learning moment. I think really trying to, number one, understand that this business is a relationship business, and constantly trying to connect to my players and have them understand that I truly care about them. way more as a person than as an athlete. And how can I build a relationship with them so that I can understand what their long-term goals are and help prepare them and coach them and encourage them and support them in really formative years of their life when, adversity is probably happening constantly, is most certainly happening constantly, but that's where the growth is happening, and having them really understand that to be comfortable with being uncomfortable is really important, and how I can help them have a growth mindset in everything that they do. Because as you start to, advance in your career and you go from a freshman to, a senior, you're starting to think about, your future. And, I think it really should start as they're entering the program. So my goal is really to just talk to them about their future goals, to help support them in that, and to help them have every moment of coaching be a learning opportunity. And when you have those good relationships with them and you can connect on a personal level, I think it's really important. And, I am a mom, so I think I treat my players like, I don't think I'm a better coach because I'm a mom, but I'm a different coach than I was before I became a mom. And I really think about every player as somebody's baby girl. And I think about how I would want my daughter to be led and developed and mentored in formative years in her life. And I take that personally, and it's a great opportunity, but it's a huge responsibility. So
I like to say balance versus rhythm. As a mom of 3 boys, there's really not a lot of balance in the basketball season. There's more of a rhythm to how we go about doing things. How do you see it?
that's a great way to put it. I mean, I think for me, it's a little bit like, just flying by the seat of my pants. I mean, it's like this morning trying to get here to do this. I was like, the kids are on vacation. I'm taking them to school. I actually have 2 boys on the autism spectrum. So I have, similar to a special needs son, and it adds another layer. It's a beautiful layer, but it adds another layer to my life as a coach. And my another layer is myself as a mom. But, I think it's when I can really try to create that family atmosphere that I'm trying to create within my program as our culture, bringing in my family into that family atmosphere. I always want my players to feel like, I always say, like, we're always going to have the same number one goal is that you have a positive experience. And no matter what, that will never change. And being able to combine my family with my basketball family and my home family. I truly believe like my players see me as a mom and see the lack of leadership skills I have in that arena where nobody listens to anything I say. And then, my kids get to have amazing female role models that are strong and bright and have, amazing role models to look up to.
Okay. So since you have 2 children on the autism spectrum, and that I have my son Frankie, who has Down syndrome, who just recently graduated from the Clemson Life program. So
Awesome.
The post-secondary educational experience for students with intellectual disability, right? It's a college full experience on campus. I have learned in my 3+ decades in the gym with some of the great leaders and communicators and teachers some skills that I have used to advocate for my son. I've been doing this for a long time, 25 years. Frankie's 25 years old, and along the path, I have listened and learned. What do you think as a leader and the head coach of your team? Because you're really a double head coach. You've got your basketball team, and then you get your family team, especially when it comes to advocating for your children. What are a couple of things that you think that have helped you as a basketball coach navigate the IEP world that we deal with as moms with children with special needs?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is just, loving your child, and we all love our kids. But I mean, my goal is for my sons to live a fulfilled life that's inclusive and positive. And I want them to have all the opportunities that every young person should have and deserves to have. And I think as a head coach, there's 2 pieces to that. One, I have a platform for advocacy. I have a platform to promote inclusion and acceptance and kindness throughout my program, throughout the capital region of Albany, the university. I sit on like the committee for the Coaches Powering Forward game, which is a game that WBCA sponsors to promote autism awareness, and just, to talk about, things that are really important that, shine light on accepting others that are different, and finding out when I actually told my team that my sons were diagnosed. I went through it was a very hard time. I only had the job here for, it was in my second year, and my boys got diagnosed, and I was having a personal struggle with it. I told my team in a very emotional moment, and one of my players confided in me that she was actually on the autism spectrum, and she had never come out about it. So really special moment, but that people don't have to, shy away from, living in that darkness or being embarrassed or, ashamed of who they are. So I think as a head coach, I have a platform to really promote inclusivity, diversity, inclusion, acceptance for all people. And then the other piece is, I'm a bulldog, maybe like a bulldog / Boston Terrier / Chihuahua. I don't know. I'm 5'2", so I I'm a little feisty, but, just being able to not sit back and to be, somebody that advocates for your child, because if you're not going to do it, no one is. And in the IEP world, it's really hard because things can fall through the cracks. And unfortunately, there's not enough people that are in special ed. There's not enough, and of the amazing people that do it, they're remarkable people. I am so appreciative of all the teachers that Brennan and Callan have been around, and specialists and occupational therapy, and just the early intervention, how important that is for people to, to access those important resources. But, at the end of the day, like, I have to advocate, I have to push, I have to fight. And as a basketball coach, and as somebody that, kind of defied odds as a player and had that underdog mentality, I want to be as respectful as I can, but also I'm not going to sit back and hope that things are going to happen. I'm going to really try to make them happen and fight for my children so that they have everything that they need to have to be successful.
We have a lot in common. Your kids will be successful. There's so much hope on the horizon for families like ours. I'm so grateful you use your platform, because you need to, and diversity, equity, and inclusion are on the tip of my tongue every day, because I see it through the lens of my son. And obviously working in women's athletics, I think we have found a quick friendship right here, Colleen. I think you and I are going to be on top of advocating for a lot of different things using our platform. Okay, so let's shift to your team, because you're sitting on top of the America East right now. You've had some close games. Your defense is really good. You've only given up 60 points to Binghamton and 67 in league play to UMBC. And the last 4 wins, 3 have been by 1 possession. So that connectivity that you're playing with is working.
Yeah, I have an amazing group of young women. There's a lot of diversity in our team. We have 7 international players on our team, which is really cool. But we actually returned our entire team, our top 10 scorers from last season, which we went to the NCAA tournament, played Louisville, and had a tremendous season last year. And, picked first. And then here comes, we're got the X on our backs. We're picked first. And then 4 starters go down. 2 of our best players tear their meniscus. One, the practice before a scrimmage, second one in our Army scrimmage. So they have to get surgery. We're out 4 starters for 11 games. We don't get our whole team back, and we get one back, we get another back. Never mind, we don't have a home court. It's being renovated. We don't have a practice facility. We're traveling to practice. And we started off the season with 11 away games and 3 home games. So of our non-conference 13 games, 11 were on the road. So tons of adversity that almost the facility was expected, but, having those injuries, and we played Ohio State on the road. We played Boston College. We played UNLV, who's having a great year. We played Syracuse. We had a tough schedule, and we thought that maybe this would be the year that we could maybe, knock off a Power 5. And without some of our players, we still, we were leading Syracuse at the half. We were down by 3 to Ohio State. We did well, but didn't have the non-conference we wanted. Got everybody back. First time back, we went on an 8-0 a run to start the America East play. So, but last year, number 2 defense in the country. We hang our hats on defense. That's what we do. That's who we are. Because I always say, no matter what, even though we want our arms to fall off with our shooters, because we got lots of shooters, Debbie. Arms could just.
Okay, I was going to say we might not be friends. We might not be friends. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's your best quote. I love that quote. Shoot till your arms falls off. I say it to my players all the time, but I think that the defensive piece is just so important for us because when our offense isn't clicking the way we want it to click, we can always count on our defense, and that's just blue collar. That's just effort. That's who I am as a person and as a player. 50-50 plays, winning plays, boxing out, hustling. That's what we pride ourselves on. Yeah, I would love to score 75 a night. That would be fabulous. Maybe even 80. That would be even wonderful. But if we can't do that, we can always count on our defense.
Well, it has been a pleasure to get to know you. And thank you so much for being a guest on Nothing But Net. And you are welcome anytime that you would like to come back. And you know what, maybe we'll team up at the Final Four and figure out how we can do a little bit more advocacy for families like ours, because I think it's a really important piece. And I think there's a lot of coaches around the business and in the game that are dealing with similar family situations like ours. So I'm on your team, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, Colleen. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks so much, Debbie. It was great.